Welcome back to W5. Our next story is about one of our own, Kevin Newman. He is, of course, a co-host here on W5 and a high-profile anchor with a hugely successful career as a broadcast journalist. And now, instead of reporting the story, Kevin is telling his own story in a book co-written with his son, Alex. The two offer a deeply personal and revealing look inside Alex Newman's struggle to tell his family he is gay, and Kevin Newman's own challenges as a parent. It is the story of a father and son and the bond they found under difficult circumstances. Here is Beverly Thompson.
Okay, here we go. Ready? 2, 3.
You would be hard-pressed to find a father and son as close as Kevin and Alex Newman.
What a clear day, eh?
Yeah.
But their bond wasn't always this tight. For the majority of Alex's life, their relationship was strained. The two just couldn't relate. And for the longest time, Kevin had no idea about the secret his son kept. But it wasn't supposed to be like this. Kevin Newman became a father in 1986. His wife, Kathy, had a complicated labor, and Alex was taken away almost immediately for emergency medical care. But the moment Kevin finally saw his newborn son was life-changing.
Tell me about everything rushing through your mind about being a dad.
I don't know about other dads, but I only felt like a dad when I saw Alex. I felt like Kathy's husband during the pregnancy, but it was just that moment when he emerged that I had this incredible rush of protective instincts.
But fatherhood was daunting. As much as Kevin enjoyed time with his son, as a journalist, he was more comfortable in a newsroom than a nursery. But even so, the Newman family expanded when 3 years later, daughter Erica was born. As his family grew, so did his career.
Kevin Newman, CTV News, Vancouver. Kevin Newman, CTV News, Ottawa.
During the 1980s, Kevin reported for every major Canadian news network. By the mid-90s, he was a high-profile journalist working in the U.S.
I'm Lisa McCree here with my brand new co-host, Kevin Newman.
Including a stint as co-host of ABC's flagship program, Good Morning America. The pursuit of the story often kept him away from home and away from his young family. Such as the early morning hours of August 31st, 1997, when he broke the news to millions of people that a princess had died.
I'm Kevin Newman in New York. We have just received word from the French Minister of the Interior that Diana, the Princess of Wales, has just died in hospital.
To the outside world, it appeared as though Kevin had it all, a growing family and a career that was taking off. But in reality, every job promotion widened the gap between him and his loved ones, leaving wife Kathy to report back on everything Kevin missed.
You weren't resentful having to do it all on your own?
No. I felt it was a privilege to be able to be at home with them and raise them. And I felt for Kevin, too, because he was missing out on so much at home.
Did you ever wonder if it was all worth it? The time that he had to give up? The time that he had to be away from his family?
Of course I did, yes, yeah. I mean, I felt really blessed to be able to be with them. It was as hard as it was to be on my own. I felt very sorry for Kevin not being present.
And with Dad rarely home, the kids formed stronger bonds with Mom, making Kevin feel more and more like an absentee dad.
Did you worry about that at that time? How much you were working, how much you were away?
Yeah, I think almost from the very beginning, I could feel that tension between the demands of a high-profile and high-pressure career and what my heart desired, which was to be home.
Around what time did you get a feeling or grasp the fact that your mom was there all the time, but your dad wasn't?
When I was about 3 years old is one of my earliest memories of sort of noticing this. I remember my dad coming home and he had brought me back, it was a red Ferrari sports car, so we knew I liked cars. But I had this sense of kind of, who is this man? I know he's brought this nice gift for me and, you know, he understands that I like cars, but there was this lack of depth with what he knew about me. He didn't have those subtle nuances. He didn't know what I did day to day, and that sort of created a distance from the get-go.
That distance only grew greater, and by his teenage years, Alex felt even more disconnected from his dad. And this was a time when Alex could have used a male role model.
And at that time, with everything going on in your life, if someone said, describe your dad.
My dad was a hero at that time, but he wasn't necessarily my hero. I thought his job was really cool. I totally did. But he missed those moments where I needed a dad.
Like many teenagers, he was going through a lot of self-doubt and self-exploration, trying to figure out exactly who he was. It was also during this time that he started to question his sexuality.
Tell me what was going through your mind.
I was very alone. It was almost like a mental storm of questions that I couldn't seem to answer. And I just kept thinking, this isn't who I thought I was supposed to be, and who am I, and what is this feeling I have inside me I can't seem to define.
But turning to Dad did not feel like an option. Alex worried his macho father would be mortified at the thought his son may be gay.
Learning how much anguish, how much sadness he was going through that you really didn't have a handle on until years later. Now when you think of that, that was your child.
No, I know.
In a desperate situation. How do you feel about thinking about that now?
I'm ashamed that I was that remote from a conversation that was so serious in his mind. I don't know any other way to describe it. It's like if you know, how could I have not sensed the depth of his anguish? I mean, he was a teenage boy. He was closed off. I thought to myself, he's a teenage boy, right? But I should have tried much harder to try to penetrate that wall, and I didn't.
And even when Alex knew for certain that he was gay, he still wasn't ready to tell his family. Like many gay kids, the idea of coming out was overwhelming. He was plagued with fear about how his family would react.
I was very anxious. I was wondering, are they going to accept me? And, you know, all these thoughts start going through your head. You're never sure how people will take it.
But by Thanksgiving Day 2004, at the age of 17, Alex decided to call a family meeting. It was time to share his secret.
Tell me about the words that you used. Or tried to use.
It was after dinner. We went to the family room where, you know, we just basically watched television, and I couldn't get it out. I struggled and I tried and I broke down, and you were the one that asked, "Is this about your sexuality?" And I agreed. I was like, "Yes, this is," and it was like floodgates open. I couldn't stop crying.
It was that moment where he turned himself inside out and he was convulsing with fear, and I didn't know why. I was thinking, have you killed somebody? You know, did you bang up the car and drive it off the cliff? Like, what is this? And then it seemed to go on forever, that he was incapable of saying anything. And then I thought to myself, I better get this right. Is it about your sexuality? And then he broke down at that point, and I knew what the answer was.
Finally, a sign that Kevin knew his son after all. But that didn't mean Alex believed his father accepted him.
There was a time in your life, and moments maybe, where you would think that your father may not be accepting of a gay lifestyle.
As I was growing up, I think I always slightly knew where my father sat with it, with the whole gay topic, especially with television. If there was a moment where two men were holding hands, for instance, you'd change the channel pretty quickly and usually make a comment about it, like, "Oh, I can't watch that."
It was uncomfortable for you.
It was. I would walk into some of the bars that Alex would invite me to parties in, and the only thing I'd be going through my head is like, don't look at the monitor, don't rub against the guy, like all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't relaxed.
Some would say that's homophobic.
Yeah, it could be homophobic, absolutely. Yeah, of course it's homophobic. Why not just call it that? And it's not anything I'm proud of, but I had to come around to that I was homophobic. Not about my son, ironically. I could easily love my son and protect my son and have all those instincts I've always had about him.
But it's the other guys.
It's the other guys, right.
For years after his son came out, Kevin continued to reassure him that he loved and accepted him. But all along, Alex had doubt.
Here we go.
It would take something from Kevin's career, the one thing that over the years had kept them apart, to finally bring them together. In 2013, Kevin came to W5 with a story idea about a gay Ottawa athlete named Scott Haggart. The 16-year-old jock had contemplated suicide before coming out to his family.
How seriously did you consider taking your life?
There were a couple times where I was very serious about it. I took a knife to the bathroom.
I was so close to getting into the bathtub and cutting my wrists that day. I was so close that it scares me even today.
And while reporting Haggart's story for W5, Kevin did something he never did before. He inserted his personal experience into the story.
There's a personal angle to this story as well. My wife stumbled upon one of Scott's earlier videos, and we were instantly captivated by them. Because when our son came out to us at the age of 17, we had no window into what that experience had been like for him. Watching Scott's videos helped us better understand just how brave our son had been.
8 years after his son came out, Kevin came out as well, as the proud father of a gay child. It was a turning point for Alex.
When I came out, there was very few resources out there that I could tap into, that I knew I wasn't by myself.
For parents, they're the most important person in their lives at that point in time.
Kevin's public acknowledgement that his son was gay was what Alex needed to finally believe his dad had truly accepted him. Their experience prompted them to take their message one step further. They wrote a book called All Out.
It's a great turnout. It's like weddings, funerals, and book launches. The only time you get people crossing your life, you know?
It's a father-son memoir they hope may help gay kids and their families better understand each other.
Describe your son to me today.
My son taught me what it means to be a man. When I saw the degree of courage that it took to come out at 17, it was an amount of courage that it took me a very long time in my own life to achieve.
Let me take you back to something you said earlier. He was a hero to everyone else, but not to you. Now?
Now he... Wow. I mean, now it's been completely flipped. He is my hero. He's stepped out of his shell and stood up for me. It's amazing.
Nice.
Kevin and Alex Newman's book, All Out, is now Amazon's top-selling book about parenting and fatherhood. And this past week, it was released in the U.S. We'll be right back.